The hidden side of India. Most people think they know India, a land of crowded streets, colorful festivals, sacred rivers, and ancient temples. A place where history lives alongside modern skyscrapers, where millions of people create one of the most vibrant cultures on Earth. But what if that image is only the surface? Beyond the famous landmarks and travel brochures lies another India, an India that feels almost invisible, a land where cities have survived for thousands of years without ever losing their heartbeat, where forgotten temples disappear into jungles, mountains, and caves, where mysterious lakes preserve secrets that science is still trying to understand, where festivals transform ordinary villages into worlds that seem to exist outside of time. This is a side of India that many visitors never experience, and surprisingly, one that many Indians themselves have never seen. Today, we're leaving behind the crowded tourist routes to explore one of the oldest continuous civilizations on Earth from an entirely different perspective. Along the way, we'll uncover timeless cities, hidden wonders, extraordinary traditions, and stories that reveal why India's greatest treasures are often the ones least known to the world. Because sometimes, the most fascinating discoveries aren't hidden underground. They're hidden in plain sight. Introduction. India is often described using numbers. The world's most populous country. More than 1.4 billion people. Hundreds of languages. Thousands of ethnic communities. Nearly every major religion represented within its borders. These statistics are impressive, but they don't explain what makes India truly unique. To understand that, you have to slow down. India isn't simply a country with a long history. It's a civilization where the past has never completely disappeared. Unlike many ancient cultures that exist only in museums or archaeological ruins, India allows centuries, and sometimes millennia, to exist simultaneously. A modern commuter checks messages on a smartphone while walking past a shrine older than many nations. Pilgrims follow routes their ancestors walked before the Roman Empire even existed. Craftsmen still use techniques passed down through countless generations. Sacred rituals continue almost unchanged despite empires rising and falling around them. In India, history isn't something you read about. It's something you walk through. And perhaps nowhere is that more evident than in its oldest cities. Chapter 1. The world's oldest living cities. Imagine standing in a place where people have gathered every single day for thousands of years. Empires have collapsed. Languages have evolved. Religions have spread across continents. Entire civilizations have disappeared. Yet life has continued almost uninterrupted. Few places on Earth can make such a claim. India can. Among its greatest wonders are cities that have never truly stopped living. While many ancient capitals eventually became ruins, these cities evolved across centuries, carrying their past into the present instead of leaving it behind. The most famous of them all is Varanasi. Situated along the banks of the Ganges River in northern India, Varanasi is widely regarded as one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Its exact age remains debated, but archaeological evidence and ancient texts suggest people have lived here for more than 3,000 years, while some traditions trace its origins even further into mythology. Regardless of the exact date, one fact is undeniable. Varanasi has outlived nearly every civilization that once shared the planet with it. Long before London existed, long before Paris was founded, long before New York was even imaginable, life was already unfolding beside the sacred waters of the Ganges. Before sunrise, thousands of pilgrims descend the stone steps known as ghats. Some come to pray, others meditate, and many bathe in the sacred river, believing its waters cleanse both body and soul. These rituals have endured to the rise and fall of kingdoms, foreign invasions, colonial rule, independence, and the modern age. The skyline has changed. The people have changed. But the rhythm has remained remarkably familiar. Walking through Varanasi feels like moving through layers of history. Narrow alleyways wind between centuries-old temples. The scent of incense mixes with spices from nearby kitchens. Temple bells echo above conversations, bicycle horns, and the chanting of priests. Many buildings have been rebuilt after fires, floods, or invasions, yet the city has never lost its identity. Rather than standing still, Varanasi has continually reinvented itself while preserving its traditions. That continuity makes Varanasi truly unique. Its greatest monument is not a palace or a temple. It is the uninterrupted flow of everyday life. Yet Varanasi is only one chapter in India's story. Hundreds of kilometers to the west lies Ujjain. Today, Ujjain is one of Hinduism's holiest pilgrimage cities, but its importance reaches far beyond religion. More than 2,000 years ago, it stood at the crossroads of major trade routes connecting northern and southern India. Merchants, scholars, philosophers, and astronomers transformed it into one of the intellectual centers of the ancient world. Ancient Indian astronomers even used Ujjain as a reference point for measuring time and geography. Long before satellites existed, observations made here helped map the skies with remarkable precision. Even today, its temples, observatories, and historic marketplaces preserve echoes of that remarkable past. Unlike abandoned ruins, however, these places remain part of everyday life. Children play beside temples older than medieval Europe. Shops continue operating in streets occupied by merchants for generations. Life simply goes on. Further east stands another remarkable survivor. Prayagraj, known as Allahabad for much of the modern era, occupies one of the most sacred locations in Indian civilization. Here, the Ganges, Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati rivers are believed to meet. For thousands of years, this confluence has drawn pilgrims seeking spiritual renewal. Every 12 years, millions of people gather here for one of the largest peaceful religious gatherings on earth, transforming the floodplains into a temporary city of tents, temples, markets, and rituals. These cities reveal something extraordinary about India's relationship with time. In many parts of the world, history survives behind museum walls or inside archaeological sites. In India, history often remains part of everyday life. Ancient shrines still receive daily offerings. Centuries-old markets continue trading. Pilgrimage routes remain active after thousands of years. The boundary between past and present becomes remarkably difficult to define. Perhaps that is why visitors so often describe India's oldest cities as timeless. Not because time has stopped, but because every era seems to exist together. Yet cities are only one-way civilizations preserve memory. Sometimes, the greatest stories are carved not into streets filled with people, but into temples so isolated that nature itself has almost reclaimed them. Chapter 2, Forgotten Temples Lost to Time. If cities preserve the heartbeat of a civilization, then its temples preserve its memory. Across India, towering temples dominate famous skylines, attracting millions of visitors every year. But many of the country's greatest architectural achievements lie far from crowded tourist routes. They hide in dense forests where tree roots embrace ancient stone, cling to mountainsides carved by human hands, or stand quietly in forgotten villages where prayers continue beneath roofs that have survived empires, invasions, and centuries of change. These are places where silence has become part of the architecture. One of the most extraordinary lies deep in Maharashtra. At first glance, the cliffs of Ellora appear to be an ordinary mountain range. Only as you draw closer do impossible shapes emerge. Columns, stairways, statues, balconies, and entire temples carved directly into solid rock. The Ellora caves rank among the greatest engineering achievements in human history. Between the 6th and 10th centuries, artisans carved more than 100 cave complexes into the basalt cliffs, with 34 open to visitors today. Together, they represent Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, reflecting centuries of religious coexistence and cultural exchange. Among them stands a monument that leaves almost every visitor asking the same question. How is this even possible? The Kailasa Temple was not built on the mountain. It was carved out of it. Instead of stacking stones, ancient craftsmen removed hundreds of thousands of tons of rock, cutting downward from the summit until an entire freestanding temple emerged from a single block. Columns, courtyards, elephants, shrines, bridges. Every detail was created by removing stone rather than adding it. A single mistake could ruin decades of work. Historians still debate exactly how such an enormous project was completed over 12 centuries ago, but its creation reflects extraordinary planning, mathematical precision, and generations of skilled craftsmen. Standing beneath its towering walls, it is easy to forget that nothing here was ever transported. Everything was always part of the mountain. The temple was simply revealed. Yet Ellora is only one example of India's remarkable rock-cut architecture. Further south, in Karnataka, the temples of Patadakal and nearby Aihole remain overshadowed by more famous monuments, yet historians regard them as laboratories of temple design. Here, builders experimented with architectural styles that later spread across southern India. Walking through these sanctuaries feels like watching architecture evolve in stone. Simple early temples stand beside increasingly elaborate structures covered with intricate carvings depicting mythology, musicians, dancers, warriors, merchants, and everyday life. These temples were far more than places of worship. They served as centers of education, art, politics, and community life, preserving not only religion but an entire civilization. Far to the east, another forgotten complex tells a quieter story. Hidden within the forest of Odisha lies Ranipur Jerial. Unlike India's famous monuments, this isolated site is almost silent. Weathered shrines rise from the landscape, while grass grows where processions once passed. For historians, the site preserves evidence of multiple religious traditions flourishing side by side during the early medieval period. For visitors, however, its greatest gift is silence. Without crowds or distractions, the imagination fills the empty spaces. Who built these temples? Who worshipped here? What celebrations once echoed across these hills? History becomes deeply personal. India's hidden temples are not confined to forests. Many disappear into the Himalayas. Among them stands Tungnath, believed to be one of the world's highest temples dedicated to Shiva, at more than 3,600 meters above sea level. Reaching it requires a steep climb through alpine meadows where clouds drift below the surrounding peaks. There are no highways, no bustling city, only mountains, snow, wind, and extraordinary silence. Each winter, heavy snowfall isolates the temple, forcing priests to relocate its sacred idol until spring. For centuries, pilgrims have accepted the difficult journey because the path itself is part of the pilgrimage. Elsewhere, countless smaller temples remain hidden beneath forests or scattered across remote villages. Some are maintained by only a few local families. Others survive as archaeological sites, slowly being restored. Many have never appeared in guidebooks, yet each preserves another chapter of India's cultural story. These forgotten sanctuaries reveal an important truth about history. Civilizations are remembered through great monuments like the pyramids, the Colosseum, or the Great Wall. But history is also preserved by places that were simply forgotten. Many of India's hidden temples survived because they were too remote to destroy, too isolated to modernize, or overlooked by the outside world. Ironically, their obscurity became their greatest protection. Even today, archaeologists continue uncovering inscriptions, sculptures, and lost settlements around these sites, adding new pieces to the story of one of humanity's oldest civilizations. Yet despite centuries of research, India still guards countless mysteries. Not mysteries born from fantasy, but mysteries shaped by nature, history, and questions that remain unanswered. High in the Himalayas, a frozen lake once revealed hundreds of human skeletons. Elsewhere, a stone pillar appears to defy gravity. On a lonely mountain road, vehicles seem to roll uphill. Whether explained by science, illusion, or the remarkable forces of nature, these places continue challenging our understanding. Chapter 3. India's Most Mysterious Places. For thousands of years, India has inspired stories of gods, sages, and miracles. It is easy to see why. Its landscapes are filled with places that seem to challenge logic. Lakes hiding ancient secrets beneath frozen waters. Hills where gravity appears to behave differently. Stone pillars that seem to float. And villages surrounded by legends passed down for generations. Yet the true fascination of these places lies not in supernatural claims. It comes from the fact that reality is often just as extraordinary as mythology. Sometimes science provides answers. Sometimes it raises even more questions. Our journey begins high in the Himalayas. At an altitude of more than 5,000 meters lies the glacial lake of Roopkund. For most of the year it appears silent and lifeless. But when the summer ice melts, hundreds of human skeletons emerge from its freezing waters. When British forest rangers first documented the lake in the early 20th century, speculation spread quickly. Were these soldiers, pilgrims, victims of an ancient disaster? Local legend claimed that a king and his royal procession ignored sacred customs while crossing the mountains, prompting the gods to destroy them with a storm of giant hailstones. For generations, the story endured. Then science entered the picture. DNA analysis, radiocarbon dating, and forensic research revealed that the skeletons did not belong to a single group. Some people died more than 1,000 years ago, others centuries later. Their ancestry also varied, showing that travelers from different regions reached this remote lake over many generations. Researchers believe many were pilgrims crossing dangerous Himalayan routes, while some may indeed have died during unusually severe hailstorms. Instead of solving the mystery completely, science uncovered a far richer story. Roopkund was not the grave of one forgotten expedition. It was a silent witness to centuries of human journeys through one of the world's harshest landscapes. From a frozen lake, we travel to a place where gravity itself seems to behave differently. In the high-altitude desert of Ladakh lies Magnetic Hill. Every year, thousands of visitors place their vehicles in neutral and watch them appear to roll uphill. Stories of mysterious magnetic forces quickly spread. The real explanation is equally fascinating. Magnetic Hill is almost certainly a powerful optical illusion. The surrounding landscape distorts the horizon so effectively that a gentle downhill slope appears to rise upward, convincing the human brain that gravity is reversed. Sometimes the greatest mystery lies not in nature, but in the way we perceive it. Further south, in Andhra Pradesh, another puzzle has challenged visitors for centuries. Inside the 16th century Lepakshi Temple stands a famous hanging pillar. A thin claw can pass beneath part of the massive stone, because one edge never fully touches the floor. Some legends credit divine intervention. Engineers believe it was part of an advanced structural design, while centuries of movement may have made the gap more visible. Whatever the explanation, it remains a remarkable example of medieval Indian engineering and craftsmanship. Not every mystery is carved into stone. Some are written into the landscape itself. Near Buldana in Maharashtra lies Lonar Lake, whose nearly perfect circular shape is visible even from space. Around 50,000 years ago, a massive meteorite created this 2-kilometer-wide crater, one of the world's few basaltic impact craters. Over time, it filled with water, forming a unique ecosystem that still fascinates scientists. Microorganisms living in the lake survive under extreme chemical conditions, offering valuable clues about how life might exist on other planets. Long before science explained its origin, local traditions described the crater through stories of gods and demons. Today, science explains how the crater formed. Legend explains how people understood it. Both remain part of its identity. Perhaps the strangest mystery unfolds each year in the village of Jatinga in Assam. During certain foggy nights of the monsoon season, some birds become disoriented by artificial lights, flying unusually low and sometimes colliding with nearby structures. For decades, the phenomenon was considered supernatural. Scientific research, however, points to a rare combination of weather, altitude, migration patterns, and bright lights disrupting the birds' navigation. Understanding the cause has helped replace myth with conservation. It is another reminder that solving a mystery does not diminish its wonder. It often deepens it. Across India, countless other places continue inspiring questions. Caves filled with prehistoric paintings, ancient observatories built with astonishing precision, natural rock formations that resemble sculptures carved by human hands. Each invites curiosity, not blind belief, not easy answers, but a willingness to explore, because curiosity has always driven human discovery. Yet India's hidden side is defined not only by ancient cities, forgotten temples, or mysterious landscapes. Perhaps its greatest secret is something still very much alive. Across forests, deserts, mountains, and villages, communities continue celebrating traditions found nowhere else on Earth. Some transform people into living embodiments of ancient legends. Others gather thousands of camels beneath the desert sun. Some honor snakes, while others unite dozens of tribes through music, dance, and storytelling. To outsiders, these celebrations may seem unusual. To those who keep them alive, they are living connections to centuries of history. Chapter 4. Festivals unlike anywhere else. To understand a civilization, it is not enough to study its monuments. Stone preserves architecture. Ancient manuscripts preserve knowledge, but festivals preserve something even more fragile. They preserve memory. Across India, thousands of festivals are celebrated every year. While some attract global attention with spectacular displays of color and music, many centuries-old traditions remain largely unknown outside their local communities. They are not performances created for tourists. They are living expressions of identity. Our journey begins in Kerala, where the boundary between mythology and reality seems to disappear. As night falls, drums echo through palm forests and torches illuminate temple courtyards. Then a figure emerges from the darkness. His face is covered with intricate red, black, and white patterns. A towering headdress and elaborate costume transform him into something almost unrecognizable. This is Thayam. To describe Thayam simply as a dance would miss its true meaning. For the communities that practice it, the performer becomes a living embodiment of a deity, a heroic ancestor, or a powerful spirit. Preparing for a single performance takes many hours, with every detail following traditions preserved for generations. When the ritual begins, spectators approach not as an audience, but with reverence, seeking blessings, guidance, and protection. History, mythology, faith, and community merge into a single living tradition. Anthropologists regard Thayam as one of the world's oldest continuously practiced ritual performances. Watching it feels less like attending a festival and more like witnessing history come alive. From Kerala, our journey moves to the deserts of Rajasthan. For most of the year, Pushkar is a quiet town. Then thousands of camels arrive, decorated with colorful fabrics, ornaments, painted patterns, and elaborate hairstyles. This is the Pushkar Camel Fair. What began centuries ago as a livestock market has grown into one of Asia's most remarkable cultural gatherings. Camel trading remains central, but the fair also brings together musicians, craftsmen, acrobats, and traditional competitions beneath the desert sky. Visitors remember the spectacle. Local communities remember something deeper. The fair strengthens relationships between families, traders, and villages that have lasted for generations. It is commerce, celebration, and heritage woven into one event. Further east, another festival honors a creature many people fear. During Nag Panchami, communities across India pay respect to snakes, especially cobras, through prayers, offerings, songs, and symbolic rituals. For centuries, snakes have represented fertility, protection, renewal, and the balance between humanity and nature. Agricultural communities also recognize their importance in controlling rodents that threaten crops. Today, conservationists encourage celebrations that protect wild snakes while preserving the festival's spiritual meaning. It is a reminder that living traditions can evolve without losing their identity. Our final destination lies in the mountains of Nagaland near the border with Myanmar. Every December, representatives of numerous Naga tribes gather for the Hornbill Festival. They arrive wearing intricately woven textiles, handcrafted jewelry, and ceremonial headgear that reflects centuries of tradition. Named after the great hornbill bird, a symbol of honor and courage, the festival celebrates something even greater than its performances. For generations, many Naga communities lived in isolated mountain villages, each developing its own language, songs, dances, and customs. The Hornbill Festival brings them together to celebrate this remarkable diversity while strengthening a shared cultural identity. Traditional dances retell stories of hunting, harvest, friendship, and community life. Ancient songs, preserved through oral tradition, are passed directly from elders to younger generations. Rather than preserving history as something frozen in time, the festival shows how culture continues to grow while honoring its roots. Across India, countless other festivals celebrate rivers, harvests, changing seasons, and local traditions. Together, they reveal an important truth. India is not one culture expressed in many different ways. It is hundreds of cultures sharing the same landscape. That diversity is not a challenge. It is one of the country's greatest strengths. Yet perhaps the most surprising discoveries are still ahead. Beyond the festivals, temples, and mysteries lies another hidden India. An India of forgotten engineering marvels, living bridges that grow instead of being built, floating post offices, ancient scientific achievements, isolated tribes, and places so extraordinary they seem almost impossible. These hidden wonders reveal just how remarkable the civilization truly is. Chapter 5, Hidden Fact About India That Almost Nobody Knows. The more you explore India, the more difficult it becomes to describe. Every answer reveals another question. Every famous landmark hides countless lesser-known wonders. And perhaps the greatest discoveries are not the places themselves, but the ideas they represent. Across this vast country, remarkable examples of creativity, engineering, and adaptation continue shaping everyday life, often without receiving the recognition they deserve. Take one of India's greatest architectural innovations. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary courtyard. Then you notice the stairs. Hundreds of steps descend deep into the earth, forming intricate geometric patterns. This is a step well. Long before electric pumps and modern plumbing, communities across western India developed these remarkable structures to reach underground water as water levels changed with the seasons. But step wells became far more than reservoirs. They served as gathering places where travelers rested, merchants exchanged news, and communities came together. Some, like Rani Ki Vav in Gujarat, were decorated with thousands of intricate sculptures, transforming a practical water source into a masterpiece of architecture. From above, the stepwell appears modest. From within, it unfolds like an inverted palace disappearing beneath the ground. It is proof that even essential infrastructure can become a work of art. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away, in the hills of Meghalaya, another engineering marvel takes a completely different form. It was not built, it was grown. For centuries, Khasi and Jaintia communities guided the aerial routes of living rubber fig trees across rivers and ravines. Year after year, the roots thickened, strengthened, and intertwined until they became living bridges. Unlike conventional bridges that weaken over time, these often grow stronger with age. Some have remained in daily use for several hundred years. They reflect a philosophy of engineering that works with nature rather than against it. India also hides quieter surprises. Floating peacefully on Dal Lake in Kashmir is one of the world's most unusual post offices. Instead of roads, boats carry letters across the water, serving communities that have long lived on the lake. In an age of instant communication, it remains a reminder that even traditional services can adapt to extraordinary landscapes. India's hidden achievements extend far beyond architecture. Centuries before the digital age, Indian scholars transformed mathematics and astronomy. The concept of zero as a true number, rather than simply the absence of quantity, revolutionized mathematics and made modern computing, engineering, physics, and finance possible. Indian mathematicians also advanced algebra, trigonometry, and astronomy, while their discoveries spread across Asia, the Middle East, and eventually Europe, shaping scientific progress far beyond the subcontinent. Some of India's greatest treasures, however, are not buildings or inventions. They are its people. Across mountains, forests, islands, and deserts, communities have preserved unique ways of life for generations. The Apatani people of Arunachal Pradesh developed a remarkably sustainable farming system that combines rice cultivation, water management, and fish farming without relying on large-scale machinery. Their knowledge continues attracting researchers interested in sustainable agriculture. Far away, on the Andaman Islands, several indigenous communities have lived in relative isolation for thousands of years. Strict protections now limit outside contact to help preserve their health, culture, and independence. Their existence reminds us that even in the age of satellites and smartphones, different ways of life continue to endure. India's natural wonders are equally remarkable. Beneath the hills of the northeast lies one of South Asia's largest cave systems. In the western deserts, entire communities thrive where water is scarce. Along the coast, vast mangrove forests protect millions of people from storms while supporting one of the world's richest ecosystems. Every region reveals another unexpected story. Perhaps that is India's greatest secret. It refuses to fit into a single definition. It is ancient and modern, scientific and spiritual, wild and urban, traditional and innovative. Every attempt to simplify it leaves something essential behind. And that brings us to one final question. Why does any of this matter? Why should the hidden side of India matter to someone living thousands of kilometers away? The answer goes far beyond travel. It reaches the very heart of how we understand civilization itself. Chapter 6. Why India's hidden side matters. It is easy to judge a country by its most famous images. For India, those images are familiar. the Taj Mahal, crowded markets, colorful festivals, bustling cities. They are all real, but they are only part of a much larger story. The India we explored tells a different narrative. It is a country where cities have remained alive for thousands of years instead of becoming ruins, where temples carved from mountains still inspire wonder after more than a millennium, where mysteries encourage scientific curiosity instead of easy conclusions, where festivals preserve memory as much as celebration, where bridges grow from living trees, where ancient mathematical discoveries continue shaping the modern world, and where countless communities quietly protect traditions that might otherwise disappear. Perhaps the greatest lesson hidden within India is this: civilizations are not built only by kings, wars, or monuments. They are built by ordinary people passing knowledge from one generation to the next, a craftsman teaching an apprentice, a family preserving a centuries-old ritual, a village caring for a living bridge, a priest opening a mountain temple before sunrise, a boat carrying letters across a lake. These simple acts, repeated across centuries, become history. In a rapidly changing world, progress is often measured only by what is new. India offers another perspective. It reminds us that progress can also mean preserving wisdom, that innovation and tradition do not have to compete. Often, they strengthen one another. Its hidden places challenge another assumption, that the world's greatest treasures are always the most famous. Again and again, we found the opposite: a quiet temple hidden in a forest, a forgotten stepwell beneath the earth, a remote village preserving ancient customs, a mysterious lake high in the Himalayas. The strongest stories often exist far from the spotlight. Perhaps that is why India's hidden side feels so compelling. It rewards curiosity. It invites patience. It reminds us that the world can still surprise us, not because it is fictional, but because it is real. And perhaps that is the greatest adventure of all. In an age when maps seem complete and satellites have photographed nearly every corner of the earth, discovery is still possible, not because the unknown has disappeared, but because understanding requires more than simply seeing. It requires listening, looking closer, questioning assumptions, and recognizing that every civilization holds stories waiting beyond the familiar. India is one of humanity's oldest civilizations, yet in many ways, it remains one of the least understood. Its hidden side is not difficult to find. Most people simply never look beyond the headlines, postcards, and famous landmarks. But those who do discover something extraordinary, not a country defined by a single monument, religion, or era, but a civilization still writing its story. One city, one temple, one festival, one mystery, and one generation at a time.